On the night of July 1st, 2012, Russell Brand's life of extremes, a history of abuse and obsession with sex, and a very distressing childhood would all catch up with him and ruin the star's life. The reality of this disaster just wouldn't catch up with him until 11 years later in 2023. To make sure we are all on the same page, let's start from the beginning. Russell Brand was born in 1975 in Grays, Essex, England. Despite the guy's comedic personality, his childhood was plagued by tragedy. I feel like that's always the unfortunate background with people who match Russell Brand's personality. Anyway, Russell was an only child and his parents divorced when he was only 6 years old. Shortly thereafter, he was sexually abused by his tutor, and as if things couldn't get any worse for Russell, his mother contracted breast and uterine cancer around the same time. He was forced to stay with relatives while his mom underwent treatment, at which period he contracted the eating disorder bulimia. He describes this period of his life as having left him feeling isolated and alone, and that's partially the reason he turned to recreational drugs like ecstasy, LSD, and cannabis to deal with his emotions. Brand would make his way to Grey School Media Arts College, where he made his stage debut in a school play at the age of 15. It was actually this positive experience that influenced him to pursue a career as an actor. He later studied at the Italia Conti Academy, but he was kicked out due to his extreme antics and worsening drug habit. This next part is the one that really got to me. Following his expulsion from Conti Academy, Russell Brand went on to study at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art and Drama Centre, London. Shockingly, he would get expelled from this school as well, this time after stabbing himself in the arms and chest upon hearing criticism of his performance. Yeah, this man must have been fighting major demons. And it doesn't end there. Shortly thereafter, Brand abandoned drama and decided to focus on stand-up comedy. Much of his early content drew on personal experiences, including his battle with illegal drug abuse and addiction to sex. He undertook several comedy tours and eventually became a VJ on MTV Europe in 2000. In pure Russell Brand fashion, however, he was eventually fired from this position for bringing his drug dealer to work and showing up dressed as Osama bin Laden the day after the 9/11 attacks. Brand later admitted he was on heroin and crack at the time. Despite his crazy lifestyle, Brand will be given his own British comedy and documentary program called The Brand, which focused on cultural taboos. Russell would go on to appear in multiple TV shows and even launched a radio career at one point, even though he'd be fired from this as well after reading material over the air. None of these fazed him though, as he would go on to have his own highly rated radio talk series called The Russell Brand Show, as well as a burgeoning career in Hollywood. Some of the most popular pieces he starred in include 2007's St. Trinian and its sequel, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, 2008's Bedtime Stories opposite Adam Sandler, Get Him to the Creek, and he even voiced the character of Dr. Nefario in the animated project Despicable Me. Around this time, Russell Brand hooked up so much around Hollywood that he was awarded the Shag of the Year award 3 times in a row by The Sun. And in the summer of 2009, Brand met Katy Perry, one of the world's most successful pop stars at the time. She was there to film a cameo for Brand's film Get Him to the Creek, and soon thereafter, the two will become engaged and were married the following year at a Hindu ceremony in India. Unfortunately, their marriage lasted just as long as their courting period. The two divorced just 2 years later. In recent years, the former TV and radio personality has repositioned himself and taken a new direction, particularly since the beginning of the COVID pandemic in 2020. Brand grew his audience on YouTube, where he discussed conspiracy theories surrounding the disease. He has also become best known for posting regular videos about spirituality, anti-establishment politics, and most recently, UFOs. His YouTube channel currently has more than 6 million subscribers. As you can see, Russell Brand is a talent that emerged from a highly dysfunctional childhood and went on to an even more bizarre adulthood within the Hollywood spotlight. And with such an extensive history of promiscuity coupled with the non-progressive attitude of the noughties, issues like those we're about to discuss were bound to happen. Among the claims in the investigation done by Channel 4 is a clip from Brand's BBC Radio 2 show in 2007 at the height of his career. The clip appears to have seemingly seemingly gone unnoticed at the time, which speaks to the seedier side of the pop and media culture in that decade. In the clip, Brand interviewed Jimmy Savile and offered up his very attractive assistant to go meet him naked. Jimmy Savile is a special case altogether. After his death in October 2011, hundreds of allegations of sexual abuse made against him were investigated, leading the police to conclude that the man had been a predatory sex offender and possibly one of Britain's most prolific offenders. Not that there had been allegations during his lifetime, but they were all largely dismissed and accusers either disbelieved or ignored. Savile even took legal action against some of his accusers. Now back to the investigation on Russell Brand. The investigation also reminded us how, also in 2007, Brand boasted of his sexual fantasies and exposed himself in the studio while urinating in a bottle in front of guests and colleagues. Other clips saw Brand kissing an interviewer on the lips and trying to undo her bra. Brand would soon resign from BBC Radio 2 following some nasty phone calls he'd made to the Fawlty Towers actor Andrew Sachs. The 2008 scandal would come to be known as Saxgate. Andrew Sachs had been due to be interviewed by Brand on that night's pre-recorded show to promote his new TV series. When he failed to appear, however, Brand and Jonathan Ross, who was also a guest on that day, left an offensive voicemail message for the actor, in which Ross made it clear that Brand had fucked Sachs' granddaughter. During the rest of the show, the two left a series of further explicit voicemails that also mentioned the actor's granddaughter, Georgina Bailey. Tens of thousands of people complained immediately after the broadcast was reported in the newspapers, leading to multiple resignations, including Russell Brand's. It's also important to note that 2 years before Sachs died in 2016, Brand wrote him a letter of apology saying he was sorry for the distress, sadness, and turbulence caused by the scandal. He added, "I apologize for the damage I have caused to your family relationships and for robbing you of your peace of mind." But perhaps the most scathing of these allegations against Russell Brand is what happened in 2012. In June 2012, Brand met Nadia, a businesswoman who was then in her 30s. They exchanged numbers and Brand later got in touch with her. She said they met up in June 2012 at his house in LA and went on to have consensual sex. The two then met again in the early hours of the morning of July 1st, when she arrived at his house after he pleaded with her to come over. When she walks in, Brand comes running out of the bedroom naked, takes her to a wall and kisses her, saying something along the lines of he had a friend that was already in the bedroom and he wanted Nadia to join them. Needless to say, Nadia, who was caught off guard, was like, "No, that's not happening," and she tried getting away from him. After momentarily slipping away from the wall Russell had pinned her on, however, her handbag got stuck underneath a huge painting Brand had in the house, at which point he grabbed her again and pinned her to the wall a second time. Nadia kept pleading with Brand to get off her, but nothing she did worked. Brand goes on to grab her against the wall without a condom, according to Nadia. According to reports that would later be published by the Times of London, medical records prove that Nadia got treated at a crisis center on the day of the alleged incident and had therapy sessions there for 5 months. Another thing that corroborates this encounter is a string of text messages between Brand and Nadia from later that day. Note that the US number Brand used to send the messages has also been verified by multiple sources. As former BBC One controller Lorraine Hegesey wondered following these accusations, "I don't think it will be acceptable to do things like that. I'm amazed that it was acceptable at that time, frankly." But perhaps the best explanation for why action wasn't taken at the time can be found in Kenty Rosinski's writing in The Independent. We just didn't bother to question it. In Brand's mid-noughties heyday, remarks like these were seen as edgy, but acceptably so. They might have elicited nervous laughter, but laughter all the same. Unbeknownst to most of us, and probably Russell Brand as well, however, journalists at Sunday Times, The Times, and Channel 4's dispatches have been investigating, reporting, and fact-checking the allegations of sexual assault and emotional abuse by Russell Brand for 4 years since 2019. The sexual assault and abuse accusations are based on allegations from 4 different women who knew him over a 7-year period at the height of his fame. One of these ladies is the lady Nadia from the night we just described. Ahead of the investigation and news being made public, Brand took to his online social media platforms to preemptively deny all claims of misconduct, saying that he is being the subject of a coordinated attack by the mainstream media. All the companies mentioned in the investigation also announced they had each launched investigations of their own. The Times also reported that more women have contacted the outlets with claims about Brown's behavior dating back to the early aughts. Now, regarding how the police have responded. In the wake of the allegations made against Brand, the Metropolitan Police said on Monday it had received a report of an alleged sexual assault in Soho, central London, back in 2003. The Met said officers were in contact with the woman in question and provided support to her, adding, "We continue to encourage anyone who believes they may have been a victim of a sexual offense, no matter how long ago it was, to contact us." The Conservative UK legislator Caroline Knox also urged police in both Britain and the US to investigate these incredibly shocking allegations. Furthermore, on Sunday, the Los Angeles Police Department said it had not been notified of any incidents, reports, or allegations regarding Russell Brand or any of the accusers. However, it could not immediately confirm reports of an LAPD officer being alerted by a crisis center in 2012 about one of the accusers being treated there following the alleged incident with Brand. Apparently, Russell Brand was also demonetized by YouTube following the allegations. According to BBC, YouTube says that it decided to suspend the creator from making money from adverts because he violated its creator responsibility policy. But wouldn't they need to carry out some form of investigation into these allegations before coming to such a conclusion? I don't know. Note that this decision by YouTube to block his revenue stream applies to all channels that may be owned or operated by Brand. Other channels associated with his main YouTube page include Football is Nice, Stay Free with Russell, and Awakening with Russell. Now, as you can all imagine, all your favorite conservatives are claiming that this is a calculated takedown by the left and mainstream media. Remember, Russell has been a conservative spokesperson lately, and personally, while I do see how the mainstream media could be more motivated to take him down now than back then when he was part of the Hollywood elite, I don't think it really matters. Unless he is innocent and all this was just a concerted effort to destroy his life. If there is any validity to any of these claims, however, then there is never a wrong time to bring them to light and pursue justice. What do you think?